Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I want to talk about homebrews. Now, more specifically about the many challenges that are faced with homebrews. And what brought this on was a post went up on the Atari Age forums, I think on the Facebook group, that a lot of the homebrews are going to be disappearing from the store. Almost like, I guess you can call it discontinued. And the reasoning is the licensing issue. And I have talked about this in a previous video, the challenges of, licensing and all that stuff. And, so a lot of games are going to disappear. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be selling homebrews anymore. It just means that they're just going to have to be very particular on the type of homebrews that they're going to be selling. So right now, actually, hopefully I can find the link and put it to this video. If you go to the Atari Age website, they are selling the games now on a discount price. I can't remember how much. I think it was like 10% off or something. But anyways, if you were holding out on certain games, like I'm going to get them later, there was some in there like the Atari 7800 Beef Drop, which is Burger Time. Things like that. If you were holding out, now's your chance, because once they're gone, I don't think they're ever coming back. We don't know. But on the flip side, they're trying to, I guess, encourage developers to come up with their own content. Not use other people's IP, intellectual property, of course. So, yeah. So what is the designers, developers, the game coders? They're going to have to start coming up with original concepts. Now, that doesn't mean that they also can't port, because what they can do is they can accrue the licensing. Now, I got some homebrews here. Some of them call it maybe homebrew, pro brew, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I'm just going to hold it there like it's in the camera so you can see it. But yeah, so the first one here, Electronite's Defender of the Crown. So from what I understand, Electronite, William Muller from Electronite, has the rights to this game to produce the game and sell it as is. So it's not like there's no issue. And when I had a small chat a while ago, before he sent me the game, he was telling me about this. He was telling me that he will not put out a game unless he can get the rights to it. Like if he can get the proper rights to legally sell this title and the game itself. Now, I'm no legal expert. I don't know the ins and outs of this type of stuff. I don't know how, how in-depth you have to be with this type of stuff, right? Because you have to think, if you remember back in the day, if you were a gamer back in the day, and I'm talking way back, the earlier Atari, Commodore 64 times and all that, there was lots and lots and lots of games that were released under different names, but you knew what they were. Like, I remember playing a game on my Commodore 64 called Cube Opper, and it was pretty much Cubert. So, I mean, maybe they changed a thing or two, but the layout and everything, it looked like Cubert. It was pretty much a Cubert clone. And there was lots of those going around. I mean, you could find them on all different kinds. And of course, you can go overseas, and then there's a lot of like Atari games that were kind of, I don't know if they were really stolen, but just being used under different names. And of course, that's a trick that, some homebrews, much like the one I put out, I did Keystone Capers. Obviously, I don't have the rights, or Intellivision Revolution wouldn't have the rights to put Keystone Capers on there, and I changed it to Keystone Cops. But I don't know how much of a, how much they have rights over. If someone were to take the game and pretty much recreate it like I did on the Intellivision and give it a different name, how far can the original owners go as far as saying, you know what, you've stolen our property, you're going to have to pay us royalties, or you're going to have to cease and desist, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm not really sure. I remember seeing Keystone Capers being sold in Zellers, the store Zellers, which I don't know if there are Zellers in America, but in Canada they used to be everywhere. They were your discount store, kind of like a Walmart. and they had their own line of Atari games, but they were pretty much repackaged original Atari games with different stickers on them, different names. And they had one, I think it was called Busy Police. I remember seeing it in the store, and I'm looking at it. They had this graphic, but it said Busy Police at the top, and it was pretty much Keystone Capers rebranded. But they probably, I don't know, maybe they had licensing agreements, but they had to change the name. I don't know. Not 100% sure. But this is still going back a good 25 years. So nobody's going to try and sell Atari games like that anymore, I don't think. Especially not the big retailers. It's really down to the smaller companies like Intellivision Revolution, like Electronite, and all the other companies that put out video games today. Like I do have this one still sitting here, my copy of Circus Convoy. This is created by Audacity Games, which is a newer company. And it's made up from some of the original programmers like David Crane, Daniel Kitchen from Activision. And this is a completely new product. I mean, this was brand new. They didn't take an old Atari cartridge and repurpose it. It was from the ground up. Everything is brand new. The concept is new. It's a new game. It's not a homebrew by any stretch of the imagination. Not even a pro brew. It's just a brand new Atari 2600 game. And of course, I think this is the direction that Atari Age is wanting to go more towards. Instead of taking a game like this one here, this is Intellivision, but Rick Dynamite, which is based off of, I believe the original name was Rick Dangerous. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's the same game. And there's also my other game that I put out, Fast Food. Well, I actually call this one Fast Food Plus because it does have an extra piece to the game that I created. But yeah, I mean, it's under the name Fast Food. And hopefully we're going to get these ones released soon. I've been waiting for this one to get a release. I know Intellivision Revolution, they had a few at the last Gaming Expo, Portland Retro Gaming Expo. They were selling some at the table there. But I don't believe he's had these packaged up. I know that there's been some talk, but hopefully this game gets released. So I know some people are interested in picking that one up. But anyways, yeah. What I was going to get to was, like, I understand why, being like, now that I've been programming my own games, why we want to, port these old games. And I think it comes down to a couple of reasons. One is familiar. People are familiar with it. Most likely, it's a game that never existed on the console of their choice. If you're into the Atari 2600, if you're into the Intellivision. I mean, yeah, there's been Intellivision's games that were created that ended up getting ported over to the Atari, and vice versa, or the ColecoVision. There's a lot of popular games, kind of like I was showing with the Keystone Capers. Certain systems never got it. ColecoVision had a version, I believe. I know the Atari 5200 had a version of it. What else had a version of it? I know recently a homebrew of it for the Atari 7800 came out. So, like, yeah, there was a lot of great games that were created and never ported over to the systems before it's pretty much ended its life cycle. So, when the Atari, for instance, the Atari 2600 was kind of done, and none of the companies were going to be making any more brand new games for it. If you didn't get a port of that game, you're now relying on the homebrews. Now, that's where the challenge comes in, where, who owns the license to what, and it can get really, really messy. Like I said with William Muller, he makes sure that he can secure the licensing before he puts out any game. Now, the other thing is, being a programmer myself, and another reason why we tend to want to port games that were previously existing, is because the game's already designed. It's already there. All you have to do is look at what has been done before and kind of recode it to work on whatever system you're programming for. So I would say about half the stuff is done. Now, and when I started to learn how to code on the Intellivision, the last thing I needed in my head was, let's build a brand new game from the ground up. because there's a lot of work involved in that too. You have to come up with a concept, an idea, a name. You have to build all your characters. You have to like decide on how it's going to function and play. There's all that stuff you have to do. You know, sketch out all the graphics and everything before you even start coding, before you even get to actually making the game work. Whereas when I was teaching myself how to program, I looked at the fast food game on the Atari 2600, and I'm like, I bet you I can do that. You know, even today, I'm still creating ports of other games. Like, I'm working on Donkey Kong 3 for the Intellivision. I just recently started to, craft out how maybe Tapper will work. And it's the same idea. Should I change the name? You know, that type of stuff. Who owns the rights? You know, like, I know that a lot of these games, the rights of them kind of got shifted around. They were like under, Bally Midway, and then they went under so-and-so, and, Taito, or whatever it was called, Tato. You know, there was all these different names that were being shuffled around in the 80s, 90s, where these games kind of like ended up going around. And I don't know if like things like copyright and all that stuff expire within a certain period of time or what. I mean, it all gets really, really wishy-washy, and you really have to know what you're doing. Anyways, yeah, that's all. I just wanted to talk about that because it's kind of interesting, and I, as a developer myself, creating games, I really am starting to try to look towards creating something new. At some point, I started working on a sequel to Venture, which is also another interesting thing because the original game is obviously owned by somebody. The name, all the likenesses and all that. I would literally just be making a part 2 of it. But again, you could run into some problems there where they say, well, we own the rights to the name, we own the rights to the characters, we own the rights to the look and feel of the game, and you're done. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but hey, if you're an expert or if you understand all this stuff, please leave it down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like I said, Atari Age is clearing out their homebrews. I don't know about the other companies out there that are still performing or still putting out homebrews. Some of them only do it in very limited runs anyways, like about 100 to 200, and then once they're sold, they're gone. Some of them will, they'll put it out and they'll get a cease and desist order, which I think happened with Princess Quest, which is like a Super Mario clone for the Atari 2600. From what I heard or read, it could just be speculation though. Anyways, let me know what you think. Throw some comments down below. Hope you subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.